No, it's from Super Mario. Shy Guys.
Oh, yes, I know who you're talking about.
Failed joke.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's keep moving.
At least it's not me this time.
Yeah, let's do another theory here. Another theory is that Traven was the pen name of Adolfo Lopez Mateos, who was president of Mexico from 1958 to 64.
Okay.
And this probably got started because his sister, Esperanza Lopez Mateos, translated 8 of Traven's books into Spanish, and he was also B. Traven's literary representative for a while, about 10 years, I think.
She was?
She was?
Mhm, she was.
Oh.
Okay.
So you can see how that rumor might have gotten started. I don't know what to make of this. I don't think Mateos spoke German. Maybe he did. I don't know.
But maybe his sister did?
Yet another theory is that Traven was the pen name of Esperanza Lopez Mateos herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe she spoke German.
Well, but
Yeah,
do
I
we
know.
know what language she translated it into Spanish from? Did she translate it from English, which would make sense that she was fluent in English and Spanish? I know she spoke 8 languages, but I'm just thinking on the order of likelihood what languages she would speak.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that German would be that high on.
In that day
Yeah,
and
he
age,
was-
it might be.
Maybe. I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I
I'm
mean,
not
in
sure.
terms of like large world players, right? Germany is a pretty big world power.
Well-
And if you're trying to study up on languages based on who you are most likely to have to communicate with, particularly if you were the president's sister, I would say German's a solid choice.
Yeah. I
English,
suppose.
Spanish, German, probably some Pan-Asian, Japanese, Chinese,
I-
probably Italian.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
Is it
I
just-
would say I would say that it's a pretty good chance that she spoke German.
Okay.
I don't know fluently enough to translate full novels,
Well,
but
that's really it. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to know the language really
Really well.
Yeah.
Do we
Yeah.
know when she was his agent or his representative?
I believe it was from like 1941 to 1951.
Okay, I could see German being on the list at that time.
Right, right,
okay, I was just asking.
Anyway, our next theory, this is a good one. Traven was actually Ambrose Bierce, who I'm sure you guys have heard of.
Okay,
Yeah.
this name rings a bell,
Yeah.
but I can't think of who
Famous-
this
does
is.
it ring a bell from Tuesday or?
Yeah.
I know it rings a bell in general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a literary figure. He's a famous author and satirist.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Bierce went to Mexico during the Mexican Revolution in 1913 because he wanted to check it out, perhaps report on it. I'm not sure. And he vanished without a trace. Another unsolved mystery, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I
Follow
know.
up on that one.
I know.
Not me.
Yeah, he vanished. Problem with this theory is that he was born in 1842.
Oh, Bierce was?
Yeah. So that kind of
You'd be an old man.
shows a span into the works.
127 years old?
127 years old when he died in
Boy.
69, so I think we can discount this one.
Yeah.
Another was that Traven was the illegitimate son of Emperor Wilhelm II.
Okay.
I don't know.
What's the foundation on this? I mean, why?
I can't think of anything other than that, like during like World War I and stuff like that, he was able to publish his little agitation magazine, whatever it was called, the Brickmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And when paper was in short supply and being rationed, so they thought, well, maybe he's got royal connections.
Ah.
But that ties in with a different theory about who B. Traven is, right?
Yeah.
It's not 100% sure that he was the one who was publishing the Brickmaker, right?
No, it's not. No, not really. That's true.
So-
I mean, a lot of people believe that he was.
Sure, but it's
yeah,
not. I mean,
yeah.
that's also just a theory.
That's just,
Yeah.
a,
Okay.
a stronger possibility, a stronger theory.
Oh, sure, sure.
Next theory, Traven was Jack London. Jack London died in 1916 at the age of 40, but some people think he faked his death, moved to Mexico, and continued his writing career.
And then died 40 50
years
years
later.
old? 50 years later?
Again, there's the old man issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little more credible than 127.
But okay, what officially did London die from? Do either of you remember?
I thought he
It was
had like
drug overdose.
Well, some people say that. I heard that he had an internal infection, I think.
Okay.
The official cause of death on his death certificate was drug overdose.
Well, he was taking morphine for the pain because he had some serious ailments.
Right.
So I could see where it'd be seriously easy to
Oh yeah,
accidentally
accidentally. Oh yeah.
Oh, a lot of people do it.
Oh, yeah.
But particularly at that time.
Self-medication was the way to medicate.
Well, yeah, and with the terrifying morphine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Easy to do.
Yeah. If I'm ever in the hospital and they say, "Would you like morphine?" my answer will be no. I will scream, "Thank you." But no.
Actually-
My question is, isn't there? I swear there's something about images or accountings of people who saw London's body after, because there was an autopsy done, wasn't there, on London?
I think so.
And I swear I've seen something about people having seen the body post the autopsy, so that would lend me to say to poo-poo on this one. And
yeah.
It's not an okay theory because of that.
I think it's a bad theory either
It's a
way.
bad theory. I mean, there's no particular reason he needed to do this, but
He was already a successful writer.
yeah, and he was again sick and very poor health and taking morphine. So that leads me to believe that he probably just accidentally OD'd or died of natural causes.
Yeah.
And yeah, he had no real motive to fake his death. Let's see, another last of the loopy theories. B. Traven was the pen name of a guy named August B. Belge, and I might be mispronouncing that. He was a German from Hamburg who was an adventurer and actually did spend time in Mexico. But of course, I don't know why anybody came up with this theory and proposed it, because B. Belge died in the Spanish Civil War in the late 30s. So probably not him.
Probably not, yeah.
Yeah, unless he faked his own death. Yeah.
That could have been it.
Yeah.
But again, a couple of these are fake death scenarios, and I don't understand why. Okay, I can see somebody having a big political shift or an ideology shift and changing the things that they write, but I can't see somebody doing that and saying, "This is going to cause a firestorm, so instead I'll just die and come back as somebody else so I don't damage that other reputation." That's an odd train of thought.
I think in general, fake death theories are kind of bunk in my book.
Okay.
It does happen. I've done it a few times. But,
Yeah, but only to get away from girlfriends.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or to escape my debtors.
Yeah, I get it. That
Federal
makes
government.
sense.
Yeah. Let's dive into some meteor theories.
Oh, like good ones?
Yeah, better. We'll see how you like them.
I thought we were talking like comet meteor.
I knew
Yeah.
you were going to go there.
I'm sorry, that's what I thought. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got? What is the first one of the docket
Well,
here,
back
sir?
to the Rhett Marut thing, as I mentioned before.
Oh, yeah.
As I foreshadowed, ominously.
Alluded to.
Yeah. Well, this is actually, it was actually, the connection between Rhett and Marut is, some claim was made by an East German author named Rolf Recknagel, but actually, it was actually made by one of his fellow revolutionaries, a guy named Erich Muhsam. You're probably wondering about revolutionaries. Rhett Marut actually appeared on the scene in the early 1900s in Germany. He was an actor, occasionally wrote plays also, directed plays, danced, and all that stuff. And then eventually studied...
Kind of a vaudeville
Yeah,
scenario?
I guess whatever theater was like in Germany in those days. I wasn't alive, so I don't know.
Nor do I.
Yeah, eventually he got involved in politics and joined up with a bunch of revolutionaries in Bavaria. One of them was Erich Muhsam, and Rhett Marut had a distinctive writing style and Erich Muhsam recognized that and first made the connection. So an East German author named Rolf Recknagel, that I just mentioned, wrote a book about it in 1966. He did some...
While Traven was still alive, right?
Yeah,
What's
he
his
was-
name?
it was
Yeah,
still alive.
Draven died in
Draven?
69.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless he faked his death in 69 to get away from this.
Oh, it's possible.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. This is obviously, the 66 is still fairly late in the game. I mean, people back in the 40s were trying to guess what his real identity was.
Yeah.
But this made it like sort of flare up anew. And actually, I guess actually you could say that it was back in the 20s when people actually, because it was actually the publication of the Death Ship in Germany that started this. Because that's when Erich Muhsam recognized his writing style. Well, let's get back into what he was up to in Bavaria. As I said, he performed on stage, and after the outbreak of World War I, he became politically active, and he founded an anarchist magazine/newspaper called Der Zeigelbrenner, which literally means the brickmaker.
Yeah, what we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, that, and on Wikipedia it says brick burner. A lot of people have it down as brick burner, but it actually means brick maker in German. So,
Why is that?
Yeah, what?
because the word Brenner in German means burner,
Okay.
but if you pair it up with the word brick, it becomes brick maker.
German's weird.
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you for saying.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
I mean, not that
weirder in
English isn't an
No, not
odd
that English
language
isn't
as
weird.
well, but
Ugh.
yeah.
Okay, so
I didn't grow up speaking German, so
no.
Hard for
Okay,
me.
so
he
this
founded,
is Marut.
Yeah, Marut founded this anarchist magazine, and after the proclamation of the Bavarian Soviet Republic in Munich, they actually had this little revolution in Munich and Bavaria. And that happened in 1919. Vet Marut was made director of the press division, and he became a member also of the propaganda committee of the quote-unquote government, which some called the fake Soviet Republic. And it was during this time that Marut got to know Erich Muhsam, and Erich Muhsam was one of the leaders of the anarchists in Munich. And when the death ship started to appear and other ones, that's when Muhsam compared his writing style with the Brickmaker articles and decided they must have been written by the same person. So back to Rolf Racknagel, the guy in the 1960s
Who wrote the book?
Who wrote this book about it? Yeah, he tracked down a whole bunch of those revolutionaries, as many as he could, to get their opinions on that and find out what they knew, and then wrote a book about it.
And they all said, "Hey, this is the same writing style."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Doesn't necessarily prove much, though.
well, no, because it's 40 years later, 50 years later.
Oh no, it's not that far.
Well, no. If this revolution takes place in 1919, that's when Marut is really active, and they may not have read any of his stuff since then.
They what? But they.
Well, I thought that Erich Muhsam read the Death Ship at least, like not too long after it was published, which would have been 1927 or 1926.
So we're
excuse me.
talking
Yeah.
8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 years. Yeah, so it's possible.
It's when there's any kind of time. If I've got two documents in front of me, totally can see the similarities in style. But if I'm trying to recollect, because that's my issue with these guys that were in this movement is, did they have documents that were supposedly written by Marut to then compare against, or was it just, hey, this really sounds like that other guy? That's my question. I want to know if there's any correlation, or if it's just memory.
There might have been, I don't know, there might have been copies of the Brickmaker still laying around that hadn't been recycled yet.
I mean, that seems like, if that was something that you were proud of in your history, you would scrapbook that. I mean, whatever the dude early 1900 equivalent of scrapbooking is, but you would keep that sort of stuff. If that was a publication and a movement that you were really a part of, you keep that, and you can pull it out and say, oh, hey, remember when we did this?
Yeah, I just want to know if it was, and I'm sure that we'd have to read the book by it's Recknagel. Is that his name?
Recknagel, yeah.
Okay, and maybe he lays out that they had these two things to compare. I don't know. That's
Also,
why
I
I'm
guess
asking.
in fairness, the other thing that I would point out is that just because the book was published 8 years after doesn't mean that he was writing it 8 years after, right? He could have been writing it the whole time, because it takes a while to get stuff published. It takes a while to write novels.
Very good point.
So it could have been within a couple years that he had been writing that, so the style could have been quite similar.
That's very true. Yeah,
Particularly if he had a really, bold way of writing.
yeah, I'm not going to dispute that at all.
Sure.
So their little revolution didn't last long. Essentially, the White Guards came in and raided them in May 1919, and that was the end of the Bavarian Soviet Republic.
So they lasted a couple of months.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah. And Brett Marut was arrested, along with a bunch of the others, and supposedly they were going to execute him for treason. But I don't know if they actually were planning on doing that or not. But he somehow managed to escape. And so maybe they were going to execute him, and his captors decided, we're just going to let you go, because I really don't want to see you get your head cut off. And so he managed to sneak off, and he spent the next several years laying low in Germany and Austria. And then eventually, of course, as we know, he made his way to Mexico.
Okay.
Okay, now let's talk about another guy, Otto Fage.
Fige?
Fage? I don't know.
It's like that yogurt, right?
Fage?
Fige?
Okay.
It's that Greek yogurt. Fige? It says on the front of the yogurt. Okay, I'm clearly the only lady in here.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Clearly the only one who eats Greek yogurt in this room. Jeez.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my goodness. sorry, all the blank looks.
I know. What
Like
the
you've
hell?
never heard of Greek yogurt before.
I've never heard of
Sorry.
yogurt before. What is this stuff you call yogurt?
I'm sorry. Let's just talk about autophagy.
Yeah, let's go back to autophagy.
Autophage. So this came out because in late 1923, Rhett Marut tried to travel to Canada through England, but in England.
This is after having escaped.
Yeah, this is 1923. He escaped in 1919 and hung around Europe, laying low because he was wanted by the authorities for treason. Marut tried to travel to Canada, got busted in England for being a foreigner without a residence permit. He got to spend 2.5 months in jail. And at that time, during interrogation sessions with the cops, he's told them that his real name was Hermann Otto Albert Maximilian Feige.
Jeez.
I know, quite
That's
the
a name.
Yeah, it is.
I would
It's
not
awesome.
have wanted to have to write that on my homework
Well,
as a kid.
imagine writing checks. It's time to pay my bills. Christ, I hate this time of the month. Yeah. He also said that he's from the city of Schweibus in Germany, which is in Poland today. And a couple of BBC journalists named Will Wyatt and Robert Robinson.
Those are British names.
Yeah.
So British.
Yeah, they found out about his jail interrogation and this claim of this name in the city that he was from. So they went to Poland, where Schweibus is now had a new name too. And they checked the local records, and they confirmed that his claims were apparently true.
What
He had another-
year was this that they did this? Do you
They
know?
did it? Oh, that was in the 60s, I believe.
Okay.
Could be wrong.
No, that's
Yeah. And they had photos of Rhett Marut and B. Traven. Apparently, Rhett Marut was photographed when he was busted.
And I've seen that picture, and I've seen the pictures of B. Traven, the supposed pictures of B. Traven. It looks very similar to me.
Yeah. Could be the same guy. So yeah, he had a couple of siblings still alive, Otto Feige did, and they interviewed the sisters and showed him pictures of Rhett Marut and B. Traven, and they appeared to recognize him.
Appeared?
Yeah, I don't know if they actually said like, oh yeah, that's our long lost brother, because he disappeared years and years before.
Well, okay, so
What,
yeah,
how many years? Like,
If
was
it
he
happened
a kid?
in the 60s, we're talking 40 years?
Yeah. He disappeared around 1904, 1905.
Yeah, so a while.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're talking 50 years, yeah.
Yeah.
50,
so,
60 years,
Yeah,
yeah.
memory gets a little, memory fades a little
Yeah,
bit.
and so they never actually said, it was just kind of like
And I think
look.
that, so if let's see, like the picture of Rhett Marut, which I believe was the police photograph, would have been taken in
the
1923.
yeah.
If he disappeared, let's say 1905, that's 18, he would have aged 18 years. Maybe he still would have been recognizable.
I mean, I guess there's something to be said for, oh, that dude looks like Uncle Jerry.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
He looks like he belongs in our family. He looks like the family lineage. So yeah, it might be him. And we had a brother who disappeared who looked kind of like he might end up looking like that. So
The other thing we need to keep in mind is photography at the time is not what we're all used to as photography today.
I don't know. The picture's not bad.
But, film photography, it degrades, and if the film is a little dirty and it's not processed right, those things can get a little fuzzy and a little off. So it's what is it? It's kind of that vignette feel that you'll see where they kind of soften everything. That's what it harkens back to, is the day when it wasn't easy to get a perfectly good in-focus shot.
It was a little hard back in the day. Well, the thing I found a little odd about this is that if they recognized him as their brother, their long-lost brother, you'd think they'd say, oh my God, can you tell me where he is so we can find him? They didn't do that.
Well, that's why I suspect that it was just kind of a look of recognition on their faces,
I
that
don't know.
the journalists took to mean that they recognized him, and
A lot
since
of
they were journalists,
inference.
yeah. As we were talking about earlier, journalists maybe not the best.
Yeah, they cut some corners sometimes, let's face it. Oh, anyway, back to Otto. He disappeared in 1904-05. And so it looks like, under this theory, that Otto Feige adopted Rhett Marut as a stage name and also a nom de guerre when he later became a revolutionary.
That's your favorite phrase?
Yeah.
Or term?
Yeah. Some people have disputed this because they're saying he couldn't have been more to Germany because there's too many Americanisms in his writing. Again, I don't know what an Americanism is, but so I don't know if the Otto Feige thing. It seems like everywhere that Traven went, or Rhett Marut or whoever, he liked to spin a big cloud of BS and leave a lot of false trails.
Which, if he didn't want to be found,
not a bad
there's really
idea.
2 ways to not be found. Hide in a cave, or tell lies.
Yeah, that helps.
And just continue to tell a different story to every person you meet.
Yeah.
And he seems to have gone with the latter and not the former, which would explain why it's so hard to figure out who he is.
Well, let's get on to the next theory. This a guy named Traven Torsfan.
Huh?
Yeah, Traven Torsfan. So he had Sierra Madre, for which Hal Crowe showed up and was a technical advisor to the film.
Yeah.
After that, after the filming was all wrapped up, Crowe disappeared. And he just vanished.
Okay.
A Mexican journalist named Luis Spota tried to find him, and somehow I guess he bribed somebody at a bank or something like that. Got some information which put him onto another guy.
Solid reporting.
I know. Well, you never know where the trail's going to lead you. But he found another man who was apparently connected to Crowe's. This guy lived under the name of Traven Torsfan, and he lived near Acapulco, like on the outskirts of Acapulco. So Spota investigated Torsfan and found out that he got a foreigner's ID card in Mexico in 1930 and a Mexican ID card in 1942. And on the applications for both of these things, he claimed to be an American-born engineer, and he claimed that his date of birth was March 5th, 1890. Place of birth, Chicago. And according to some records that he found, Torsfan arrived in Mexico in 1914, which I'm still scratching my head on.
So that's from the U.S., because if he was born in Chicago, he would have traveled there from the U.S.
Yeah. So, of course, if this is true, then Torsfan can't be Rhett Marut, because Rhett Marut was documentedly in Germany.
Right.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah. Although it could be Rhett Marut lying about when he got to Mexico and from where he came to try and cover up his kind of bad past.
Maybe.
You know that you wouldn't necessarily say, "Oh yeah, I'm from Germany and I came here and I was in jail and I started a revolution and totally seceded from a nation and was arrested for treason."
But the timeline doesn't work.
Why?
Because if Marut was in trouble in 1919, but the documentation shows that Torsfan arrived in Mexico in 1914.
Hey, just as a point, how did the journalist get that information?
Bribery.
So
public,
what's to say that
public
you
record.
couldn't?
All right.
Well,
Gray area. I'll call it a gray
I
area.
mean,
It is. He could have just lied at his application form, too. I mean, I don't know that they...
I don't know what official record means. If official record is the application he submitted in 1930, sure, he could have totally lied.
Good point.
If it's some kind of immigration form or something like that, could have bribed it, or it could be real. It's hard to tell, especially in this time.
Yeah.
And you could really write whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next step in Spoda's journalistic journey, he bribed the mailman who delivered Torsfan's mail and managed to open
More
up.
bribery.
I know, I love it. That's just the way it goes down there.
I guess so.
Pretty much all around the world, actually. But when he opened some of those envelopes, he found out that Torsfan received royalties payable to none other than B. Traven.
Oh.
Yeah, from a man named Joseph Weider in Zurich, which is the guy that was his publisher.
Oh.
Spoda asked Torsfan if he, B. Traven, and Hal Crowe were all the same person. Of course, Torsfan denied it. Supposedly, emphatically, in fact, even kind of angrily. But,
If you're trying to hide, that would be, and caught off guard, I can see that being a normal reaction.
Yeah, for real.
yeah, Spoda, again, this is not like those journalists before, said that Torsfan finally admitted indirectly to being the writer, though he doesn't say exactly how he admitted indirectly.
Yeah, that's hinky.
Yeah.
Hinky.
So Spoda published an article about all this, a nice long article, I understand. I haven't read it, in the newspaper Mañana in August 48. And Torsfan published an angry denial in the newspaper Hoy a week later.
Tomorrow and today.
I know, you love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, not long after that, Torsfan disappeared.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, all these disappearing people. Hal Crowe, Traven Torsfan.
We actually have like 5 mysteries and 1 mystery right now, right? All these weird disappearances.
Okay, but one mysterious disappearance was solved because Hal Crowe, who disappeared, well, he reappeared in Acapulco.
Oh.
Yeah, and He wrote a few screen adaptations of B. Traven's books, and of course also acted as his representative. He had a secretary named Rosa Elena Lujan, and eventually married her in 1957.
And Torsvon was also in Acapulco earlier than that.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing that going, oh, wait, maybe he just liked Acapulco and he took off for a while and came back.
Or maybe he
If it's the same person, if we're gonna stitch this all together as the same person.
Yeah.
I don't know. Between his marriage in 1957 and his death in 1969, Hal Crows, I guess they were happily married. Hal Crows stayed Hal Crows until he died. Then on the day of his death, his wife, Rosa Elena Lujan, of course, held a press conference and announced that her husband, Hal Crows' real name was Traven Torsvan Crows, and that he had been born in Chicago in May 1890
Okay.
to Burton Torsvan and Dorothy Crows. Yeah, okay. She also said that he had used the pseudonyms B. Traven and Hal Crows during his life, and then some months later she confirmed that B. Traven had indeed been Rhett Marut earlier in his life.
Well,
So, is the mystery solved?
Wait. So he was born in May of 1890
According to this.
in
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah.
And then
Chicago.
No. Sorry. Never left. And then he became Rep Marut like immediately after that and went to
Within 20
Germany?
years, he would have somehow got himself into Germany
Yeah.
and become Rhett Marut.
Okay, but he was
Oh, I
never autophagy, right?
Yeah, I don't think so, no. But, and I think my understanding of how the whole thing worked is he was born in Chicago. His parents were actually, I think, from Germany, and they moved back to Germany. And so he lived maybe the first 10 years of his life in America, something like that, then moved to Germany.
That would explain a lot of stuff.
That would explain lots, yeah.
Okay, well,
If that's right.
If
in
that's
that,
correct.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
that interpretation. Okay, I'm on board.
Yeah,
Mystery solved.
and then he eventually gets himself a stage name, and then becomes a revolutionary, and then has to leave Europe and goes to Mexico. And where, by the way, he was wanted. Apparently, he'd be an American citizen and not a German citizen. So I don't know if you're an American living in Germany, if you can commit treason. I'm not
Maybe
sure.
that's why he didn't end up
It would be
being put to
espionage.
death.
Yeah.
Right?
Or maybe that's why he faked being born in America because
Or maybe that's why he faked being what's his name?
Autophagy.
Yeah, Maximilian. Called
yeah.
millionaire.
The Greek yogurt guy.
Yeah, the Greek
Yeah,
yogurt
yeah.
guy.
Okay, well, but now there's one that you haven't included here that I found odd, but I wanted to bring up, which was I'm not saying who B. Traven was from the outset, except that the theory that I saw said that he was from Germany originally and was in Mexico, and he met an American who wrote these stories and somehow bought or stole them off of that individual and then rewrote them into German, which is why there are Americanisms in the German version, and then went back and said, oh wait, now I need to make this match my manuscript later, so when converted that English back or rewrote the English version in his own English version. That's where all the Germanisms came from. Now, this is one that I've seen proffered on the internet a number of times, and I don't buy.
I don't buy it
But
either.
it's out there,
Yeah.
and I think that we should at least acknowledge
I suppose we should
there.
have. I suppose we should have. I didn't include that one because it just seems so even less supportable than almost all the other silly things out there.
I
Sure.
think it's more supportable than Jack London.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you right
that's
now.
fair enough. Or
Yeah.
Ambrose Bierce.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it just seems like it just seemed to me like it was basically speculation more than anything else, and completely.
I will agree
unsupported.
with that.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And so I don't know. So the mystery is solved, or is it?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Because he could have been lying to her the whole time, or it may be that.
If you can't lie to anybody, it's your wife.
Yeah.
but you can lie to your wife, and people do it all the time.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I can see this guy being like, yeah, we're dating. I'm just going to make myself sound mysterious so she's really interested in me. I can see this play out in a
Boy,
thousand
this
ways.
bodes really well for your upcoming
I
episode.
know.
Shush, there's a reason I don't let her listen to this show. She does think that I am an international millionaire and I don't come to record a podcast. I am dealing with my trust fund.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we'll make sure
Hedge
to
fund.
support that.
Yeah. We'll keep your secret.
We'll keep it.
Yeah. Yeah, and also he might have told her the whole truth too, and then, but also expressed his wishes for her to continue spreading the fog of BS
Yeah, also
on
possible.
his behalf after his death.
Also possible.
Yeah.